Good evening, professionals. We have commenced our Global Corporate Law webinar series by trying to understand the provisions of Singapore Companies Act, in which we studied together and read the provisions for how to form a company in Singapore, a local company or a foreign company in Singapore, how to establish a place of business in Singapore. Then we studied about various governing provisions for directors, auditors, then the modalities for charge creation and satisfaction. Today we are going to discuss one of the interesting topics, loan to directors, similar to your 185 provision under Indian Companies Act regarding loans to directors. You have loans to directors under Singapore Companies Act 162, 163 for the governing provisions, and for our understanding sake, we are going to classify it into three buckets. Bucket 1 will be restricted transactions where loans, quasi loans, or credit arrangements guarantee securities provided to the directors or deemed related directors are restricted, which are not allowed under Singapore Companies Act. In bucket 2, we are going to discuss about the approved transactions, which means granting loans to companies, LLPs, which are connected to directors but with prior shareholders' approval. In bucket 3, we are going to discuss about the key provisions regarding the various exceptions available, where the company can indemnify the directors. Which are those instances where the company will reimburse the directors and still it will not fall under bucket 1 or bucket 2, which is section 162 or 163. With this brief introduction, let us get into today's presentation. Friends, my thanks to Ms. Aishwarya for this detailed presentation and very few abbreviations used in today's presentation, where IMP will be referred as immobile property and VCC is the variable capital company. Friends, variable capital company is an interesting new corporate structure brought under VCC Act, Variable Capital Companies Act 2018, effective 14 January 2020 for investment funds. Of course, it is a positive moral booster for fund management businesses, and there is a lot of flexibility available for issuance and redemption of shares. Of course, they are administered by ACRA, and the register of shareholders is not in public domain. Of course, if the public authorities demand for, then you may have to produce the details of your members. So this 162, 163 provisions are well quoted under VCC Act as well, and they have retained the provisions of 162, 163, and hence we are going to include along with companies the name of VCC as well. Yes, first we are going to talk about the restricted transactions, where loans and quasi-loans to directors, credit transactions and related arrangements where it is not allowed is going to be looked at. Then we are going to see where the prior shareholders approval is sought for the companies and LLPs where the directors are connected with regard to loans and quasi-loans. Credit arrangements are also included there, and exceptions provided in the Act with regard to reimbursement of expenditure to the directors in connection with any regulatory action or for defending any proceeding, civil or criminal proceedings. Section 162. If a company makes loan or quasi-loan to director of a company or a company deemed to be related to the company as referred to in section 6, these directors are referred in this section as relevant director. What does section 6 provide? Section 6 says that where a corporation is a holding company or a subsidiary of the holding of another corporation, which could be your step down subsidiary or your fellow subsidiaries. So these corporations and any of the parties will be construed as related for the purpose of this Act. If the company is going to enter into any guarantee or provide any loan or quasi-loan made to such relevant director or any other person, or enters into a credit transaction as creditor for the benefit of this relevant director, or provides guarantee or security with regard to such credit transaction entered into for the benefit of such relevant director, or there is some arrangement entered into by any other person, but it would have been considered as a restricted transaction. More for circumventing this particular restricted transaction, some other person is doing it on behalf of these directors, relevant directors, in which case that person is obtaining benefit from the company or the company referred to in section 6, which is your connected corporations, holding subsidiary, fellow subsidiary, in which case that will also be a deemed restricted transaction here, and there is going to be an assignment or assumption of the company of any rights, obligations or liabilities under a transaction. If it had been entered into by the company, it would have been considered as a restricted transaction. So these are the various aspects where subsection 1 clearly defines the scope about where the loan or quasi loan shall not be allowed, and subsection 3 and 4 and section 163A, 163B, where 3A and B talks about the exceptions available. Subject to these provisions, a company shall not make restricted transactions. So they shall not be allowed to enter into the transactions as referred in this section 162. So 163AB, we already discussed that they deal with the exception for reimbursement of expenditure to a director with regard to defending any suit, any proceeding, or in connection with any regulatory action or investigation as the case may be. When does this section not apply? So subsection 3 of 162 is very important for us to understand, so that we will know that for sure we are not violating the provision because we are under this exemption bracket. 1. When this section shall not apply to any transaction made for the benefit of relevant director. Otherwise, it would have been considered as a restricted transaction, provided if it is for meeting any expenditure incurred only for the purpose of the company, or while he is performing his obligations as an officer of the company. B talks about a person, a director who is engaged in whole-time employment of the company, and he is deemed to be a related director, but for the purpose of purchasing or acquiring a home occupied by this director. But exception is, it clearly says that it shall not be exceeding more than one such restricted transaction as may be outstanding at any one time. So it is allowed up to one such purchase or acquiring a home occupied or to be occupied by this director outstanding at any point in time. And he is again engaged in whole-time employment of the company, and under a scheme which is approved by the company by a general meeting with the approval of the shareholders, there is a benefit extended to all the employees of the company, and this transaction is in accordance with the approved scheme, or such transaction is in the ordinary course of business. Say for example, they are lending money and it is a financial service activity and they are regulated by banking regulations under the Singapore regulations, or they are governed by the provisions of MOS, Monetary Authority of Singapore, registered as RFMC, fund management company or a finance company or insurance company. And if it is going to be in their normal course of business, then for these provisions, this particular section is not applicable. So subsection 3 deals with your exemption category. 3A or B shall authorize the restricted transaction only. A or B. A or B, again for our reference, A or B deals with the transaction entered in whole-time employment of this person for occupying this particular home, or if it is for reimbursing any expenditure incurred for the purpose of business of the company. Provided prior approval shall be obtained from the shareholders in a general meeting, or where approval is not given, then such amount shall be repaid or discharged within 6 months from the conclusion of that meeting. Subject to this condition, it will be considered as exempt under subsection 3, otherwise it will not be considered. Hence, prior approval is mandatory in the case of A and B. And if prior approval is not given, then the directors who are empowering this particular transaction shall be jointly and severally liable to indemnify against any loss occurring therefrom. And if a company is going to violate the provisions, then the directors shall be liable for conviction with a fine up to Singapore dollars 20,000 or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. Subsection 7 says this shall not prevent the company from recovering any amount. Just because this is a restricted transaction and they have violated, they cannot escape the liability. They have to certainly pay the money and discharge the liability to the company, be it a loan or quasi-loan or credit arrangement or any guarantee entered into or security provided thereat. And this relevant director or reference to director includes director's spouse, son, adopted son or stepson, daughter, adopted daughter or stepdaughter as the case. Transaction. When will it be triggered? On the date of entering into the transaction. And prior approval means before entering into the transaction, you shall take the approval, and it clarifies under subsection 10 that such restricted transaction shall not be made or guarantee shall not be provided or security shall be provided and then you seek the approval. So you shall certainly obtain prior approval. And explanation is provided by virtue of subsection 11 where condition sale arrangement is drawing reference to section 2 of Hire Purchase Act of Singapore, which means an agreement for sale of goods under which the purchase price either whole or in part is payable, subject to the condition that the payment of installment shall be made and then you acquire the ownership capacity. Until then, it shall remain with the owner for honoring this particular obligation by the other party. And notwithstanding that the hirer is in possession of the goods. You may be in possession of the goods. Nevertheless, the ownership will still remain with the particular owner until you make the payment of all installments that is subject to the condition sale agreement. What do you mean by credit transaction? When there is a supply of goods or disposal of any immobile property under HP agreement or conditional sale agreement or lease or hire of any immobile property or goods in return for such periodical payments, down payments or otherwise disposal of immobile property or supply of goods or services. Basis understanding that there will be down payments or periodic payments or lump sum payment which will be deferred as the case may be. So this is credit arrangement. What is quasi-loan? Quasi-loan is a transaction under which a creditor agrees to pay to the borrower by virtue of an agreement or he agrees to reimburse the expenditure incurred by the borrower again by virtue of an agreement, subject to the terms that borrower will reimburse the creditor. And this gives rise to a liability on the borrower to make the payment to the creditor. So this is quasi-loan. Services, of course, is anything other than your goods or immobile property. Subsection 12 clarifies with reference to subsection 11 that a reference to a person to whom a quasi-loan is made is reference to the borrower. The borrower is a person who has the obligation to settle the payment to the creditor. The liability of the borrower under the quasi-loan includes liability of any person who has agreed to reimburse the creditor. So it includes those persons who have agreed to make reimbursement to this particular creditor on behalf of the owner, which could be by way of an arrangement or assignment. A reference to the person for whose benefit a credit transaction is entered is a reference to the person to whom the goods, immobile property or services are supplied under the transaction. And of course, a reference to supply of services means anything other than the goods, more particularly drawing reference to your subsection 11 in terms of explanation. Now, we will deal with the approval required for loans, quasi-loans, credit transactions made to companies LLPs where these directors are connected. So we will see how these directors are connected. So it shall be unlawful for a company to make the below transactions subject to 163AB because 3AB clearly provides exemptions with regard to your reimbursement for defending any proceedings or for any regulatory action initiated. So to make loan or quasi loan to another company, LLP or VCC or variable capital company, which we discussed in the initial phase. To enter into any guarantee or provide any security for a loan or quasi loan made to another company or LLP or VCC, or again a credit arrangement for the benefit of another company, or a guarantee or providing any security again for a transaction, credit transaction entered into for the benefit of another company. Then you are providing such loan, quasi loan, credit arrangement to another company, and how this director is connected. If such director of the first mentioned company is holding more than 20% of the voting power in that other company where you are lending, or LLP or VCC as the case may be, then approval is the prior approval which is mandated for making such loan, quasi loan or credit arrangement, in which this director or the related directors and their family members shall abstain from voting. So that is a prerequisite. Again, it shall be unlawful for a company to make the following transactions other than an exempt private company. Friends, what is an exempt private company? EPC has lot of advantages. More importantly, it could be 100% foreign owned. And liability is of course limited to the extent of their capital contribution. And more importantly, they have this 3 years corporate tax exemption available. And there is no minimum paid up capital provided for these private companies. And the capital could be as low as Singapore dollars 1. And this EPC is exempt from subsection 2, where a loan or quasi-loan for all other companies, if there is a loan or quasi-loan made, or a credit transaction or a guarantee or security provided with respect to such credit transaction for the benefit of another company, where such company or LLP is incorporated or formed outside India, and if the director, how the connection is coming in subsection 2 is, if the director or directors of the first mentioned company have interest in the other company. So the lending company, the directors have interest in the company which is borrowing. It could be a company or LLP, where this director has interest in that company. We are going to see what is the interest. In subsection 1, it was well defined that you have to seek prior approval when the interest is 20% of your voting power. Now we are going to see for subsection 2 what is interest. Interest for this purpose is again 20% of the voting power if the company is having share capital. What if the company is not having share capital? Then it is going to be exercising control over the company, which could be your operating policy decisions, exercising significant influence. So hence it is clarified by virtue of the section that power to appoint directors or otherwise. And if it is going to be LLP, then 20% of the capital contribution or voting power in the LLP. 3A says a company shall not involve in these transactions unless and until prior approval is obtained in the general meeting. And the directors and their family members shall abstain from voting, similar to what is provided in your 162. And take part in an arrangement under which another person enters into a transaction. If it had been entered by the company, would have certainly required the approval under 163. And the other person is getting a benefit. So you are circumventing this by doing it through some other person. Even then, it would squarely fall under this section 163 because that person is getting a benefit, and it would have been certainly necessitating an approval under section 163 had it been done by this particular company. But you are doing it through some other person, and hence it will fall under this particular section. Or you are doing it by way of an assignment or arrangement of any rights, obligation or liabilities. If it had been entered by the company, then it would have certainly necessitated that approval. Again, similar to your 162, when does it trigger? This particular transaction is from the date of entering into the arrangement, the transaction is necessitating such approval. 3C again says that directors or their family members shall abstain from voting. They shall not participate in the voting at the general meeting where this prior approval is being sought. And 3A is not applicable provided if all the shareholders have voted to approve the arrangement. Then this particular subsection 3C says that this requirement of directors and for family members abstaining from voting will not be applicable if all the members have voted in favor of that particular resolution. Subsection 3D says that where a company makes a loan or quasi-loan to another company, enters into a credit transaction or gives guarantee with regard to such loan or provides security in connection with such loan or quasi-loan or credit arrangement, a director or director of the first mentioned company shall not be treated as having interest in the shares of the other company by virtue of only the first mentioned company having an interest in the shares of the other company. Let's try to understand this with an illustration, friends. I am the first mentioned company, A, and I am lending money to another company. The other company is B. The director is having interest. X is having interest in the shares, which means he is owning more than 20% of the voting power in A, which is the lending company. Just because he is holding 20% in the lending company, but not holding any share in the other company, B company, but A has invested in B, that doesn't mean that the director is connected to B because he is not having any interest in the shares. Hence, the company's interest in shares will not be considered as connected to this particular transaction. So, by reason only that the first mentioned company has an interest in the shares of the other company or this variable capital company, and director or directors have an interest in the shares in the first mentioned company. This said company shall not be treated as having interest in the shares of the other company. Interest in shares has the meaning assigned to in section 7, and for BCC it is section 2 subsection 6 with adaptable modification as provided in 2.7. If you read section 7 of the Companies Act, it clearly says that the interest in share is my control or to dispose the shares, or disposal of the shares is my prerogative right. And it clearly says that it is immaterial if there is going to be any restraint or any condition attached with regard to disposal, that is immaterial. And if I am going to be a trust and if I hold any interest in the share by virtue of holding the trust, then that is considered as interest in share. 2 subsection 6 of BCC Act derives its provision from section 7 of the Companies Act, of course with certain modifications as provided in 2 subsection 7, and hence interest in share is the interest in the control to have disposal of the shares as well. The person who has an interest in the share is treated as having interest in the voting power on the holder by that share. And prior approval as provided in your 162, it says that it shall not include any approval which is given after the loan or quasi-loan or credit arrangement is made. So after the damage is done, you cannot say that the prior approval, the approval is being sought. Before you enter into such arrangement, you may have to seek the approval from the necessary holders. And prior approval required under 3A shall not include any approval given after the arrangement is entered into by the company. This section is again having exemptions for anything done by a company where the other company is its subsidiary or holding or subsidiary of its holding company, or where it is in the ordinary course of business that the lending is made or guarantee is given or security is provided, or it is in the ordinary course of business, and more importantly it is regulated by any return law which is subject to supervision by the regulator, be it your Monetary Authority of Singapore, or it is well regulated for doing the business of banking, finance or insurance as the case may be. And again, interest of a member of director's family shall be treated as interest of a director, and director's family includes spouse, son, adopted son, stepson, daughter, adopted daughter and stepdaughter, similar to your provision in 162. And it shall not prevent the company from recovering the amount of any such loan made, guarantee given or security provided or any credit arrangement which is entered into. Penal provision for violating this provision, the director who authorized the same shall be liable for conviction to a fine up to Singapore dollars 20,000 or with imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. 163A deals with your exception for expenditure on defending proceedings. So loan and quasi-loan to directors, which is dealt with under 162, and 163, which deals with your approval in connection with a loan made to a company or LLP where the directors are connected, shall not apply to anything done by a company on terms provided in subsection 2, where it says, subsection 2 says that to provide any loan to a director only to meet expenditure incurred in defending against any civil or criminal proceedings with regard to alleged negligence, default or breach of duty or trust by the director, or in connection with an application sought for relief by this director, or to enable such director to avoid incurring such expenditure. So this will be completely exempt and out of the provisions of your 162, 163. The term referred to in subsection 1 or loan has to be repaid, provided the loan has to be repaid or discharged in the event of the director being convicted and judgment is given against this particular director and the court is refusing to grant relief to this director. And when it shall be repaid is within a period of 14 days from the date when the order is set out, this particular director shall make necessary repayment or discharge the liability. And subsection 3 clearly says when this conviction, judgment or refusal of granting relief is considered to be final. When if it is not appealed against, at the end of the period, you are given a timeline of 30 days within which you have to make an appeal and the time is barred because of which you are not allowed to make any further appeal, then on that day it is construed as final. And you have made an appeal within 30 days but the decision is against you, then if it is appealed against then the appeal is finally disposed of, or an appeal is disposed of if it is determined and that there is no right of further appeal, there is no second appeal, that is the highest verdict available, or it is abandoned or ceases to have effect. This repayment of loan includes the interest which is chargeable under the terms of the loan as well. The application for relief under this section, subsection 4 draws reference to extension of relief as granted under 76A, where it clearly says that the power of the court to grant relief is against not only the liability but also any order imposed under that particular section, and the power of the court to grant relief under section 391. For all these cases, it is completely exempt with regard to any amount which is reimbursed by the company to the director. Exception for expenditure in connection with regulatory action or investigation. Likewise, under 163B, it clearly says that it is out of the provisions of 162 and 163. Provisions which protect officers from liability shall not apply to anything done by the company to provide any loan to a director only to meet his expenditure incurred in defending himself against an investigation by a regulatory authority or any action which is proposed to be initiated by the regulatory authority, again in connection with the alleged negligence, breach of trust duty in relation to the company, more important, and to enable such director to avoid incurring such expenditure. So 163AB are the carve-out provisions available, whereas 162 is the restricted transaction which shall not be allowed to be done with regard to any loan, quasi-loan to be done when it comes to the related directors, and approved transactions are those as enlisted in section 163 where prior approval is required and mandated. So with this, we are concluding the loan to directors provision as provided in 162, 163, 163AB of Singapore Companies Act, friends. Thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe.